We have neutralized objective Charlie 1.
Early this month, the highly anticipated game Delta Force Hawk Ops released its alpha playtest to select players. Prior to the alpha playtest, rumors and hype were running wild about what to expect from Delta Force Hawk Ops. Now, the biggest hype being that this game would be the COD and Battlefield killer. Now, after playing the alpha for a few weeks, I think it's time to dive in and see, is Delta Force Hawk Ops the COD Battlefield killer? Now, to answer these questions, I'm going to compare the major themes of each game to each other, which are going to include gunplay and customization, map design and variety, vehicles, and game modes. First, let's take a look at gunplay and customization. Now, gunplay and customization can make or break a game from the get-go. If the guns don't feel good when firing, or are very linear and basic, it becomes very easy to dismiss the game. Now, if we start comparing the gunplay and customization between Battlefield, Call of Duty, and Delta Force, it's pretty apparent that Delta Force handles the best. The feel of firing the various guns is much more rewarding than the laser-like firing of Call of Duty, which honestly lacks any real recoil or meaningful feedback. And now with aim assist running rampant in Call of Duty, it's really lost any sort of good feeling when firing any of the guns, regardless of type.
Allies engaging at Bravo 2.
Now, Battlefield guns are a little more snappy than Delta Force, but certainly have more recoil and sway than Call of Duty. But just overall, the gameplay in Delta Force Hawk Ops just feels more refined, which is surprising for me to say, as I've always kind of held Battlefield as the gold standard in the non-tactical realism first-person shooter genre. So it's refreshing almost to have another game have pushed that envelope without diving into that tactical realism aspect that's been taking off as of late. Now, if we turn to the ability to customize guns, I'm actually going to give Call of Duty the lead here. Despite all of its shortcomings, the ability to customize guns in Call of Duty remains one of its few redeeming qualities. You see a lot of the same options and views in Delta Force, but they are a little more pared down. That might expand more as the game moves outside of Alpha, but at least for the Alpha version, it just doesn't have as many options as Call of Duty does. Now, Battlefield's customization is pretty minimal in comparison, but that's also not really why players flock to Battlefield. So I don't really see this so much as a knock against Battlefield, but perhaps it's just not really a focal point for that franchise. So for gunplay and customization, I'm going to give Delta Force Hawk Ops silver, with Call of Duty and Battlefield sort of splitting it. I like Battlefield's gunplay more than Call of Duty, but Call of Duty's customization excels. Next, we have map design and variety. Now, historically, I would say that Battlefield takes this category without contest. Then Battlefield had to go and make Battlefield 2042, and the sin that it is. However, if we ignored the blasphemy that is Battlefield 2042, and we look at the previous, better installments, we're talking about Battlefield 1, 5, we can even go further back. Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. This isn't really a competition. The ability to destroy anything, and I mean anything, in the Battlefields of old is the primary reason why people flock to that franchise. Pair that with the Rush and Conquest game modes and the insane amount of vehicle and infantry pairings, I have yet to see a game challenge Battlefield in this category. The only way the Battlefield loses in this category is if they follow the same model as Battlefield 2042 for the new installment that is in development currently. Only Battlefield can beat Battlefield here. We look at Call of Duty map design and variety, it's bland at best. When was the last time you heard someone talking about an amazing map design that was unique and engaging in Call of Duty? Verdansk? That's the only one that comes to mind for me. All that to say, it's been a while since Call of Duty was even rememberable in this category. The multiplayer maps are small and static, and if you've seen one, you've seen them all. The Warzone maps are marginally better than the basic multiplayer maps due to size and ability to land at different locations and travel large distances with your squad. but it's lacking in every other way. Delta Force Hawk Ops only had 2 multiplayer maps to play in the alpha, so our ability to really measure the success of all the maps is limited. Even with only those 2 options, Delta Force is essentially taking the Battlefield Rush route. Why fix what isn't broken? I can't knock them for lack of ingenuity. Rush is a safe bet. However, there really is no destructibility at all in Delta Force, and if you want to try and rival Battlefield's Rush, well, I better see some buildings falling and craters showing up in the roads. Now, the Extraction Mode maps add some extra flavor and uniqueness to their offering, which is more than I can say for Call of Duty's Extraction Mode DMZ, which just recycled the Warzone map for a different game mode. For map design and variety, I'm going to give Delta Force Hawk Ops silver. It's better than Call of Duty, but if we ignore Battlefield 2042, it still does not match up to the Battlefield franchise overall. When looking at vehicles, we need to look at variety, balance, and handling. For Battlefield, I've always found the vehicles to be extremely easy to handle, and the variety it's insane. Now, other than Battlefield 2042, the balance has always been very well done. Even on foot, as long as you coordinate with the other members of your squad, you can still hold your own against an onslaught of light vehicles, armored behemoth tanks, or piercing airstrikes. So again, as long as we ignore Battlefield 2042, this is an easy win for Battlefield. If we turn to Call of Duty, vehicles are slow, they're clunky, and they really have no impact outside of the ground war game mode. Even in Warzone, vehicles are really only used as a mode of transportation to beat the gas. That's it. The balance is decent, but the vehicle variety is severely lacking and really falls flat all around. They put vehicles in to say there are vehicles in the game, and there's really nothing more to it there. It's easily the weakest of the 3. Then for Delta Force, the vehicles handle very well, rivaling even that of Battlefield. A couple of rockets to a tank or LAV and you're done. However, it's pretty unimpressive firing a tank round at a concrete wall and nothing happening. Or the side of a building where guys are posted on top of. In the alpha, you only see a handful of vehicles, that of which matches Call of Duty's offerings. But we're just going to have to wait and see how much more they lean into vehicles as the game progresses. Overall, though, I was more impressed with the vehicles in Delta Force than the vehicles in Call of Duty. So for vehicles, I'm going to give Delta Force silver again. Finally, we take a look at the game modes offered between each game. Now, Battlefield has Conquest, Breakthrough, Russian TDM, Portal, and Hazard Zone. The number of players can range from a large-scale Conquest of 128 players to a medium-sized 64-player Breakthrough, down to a small 32-player lobby for a game of Rush or Team Deathmatch. Now, Portal, probably the only bright side of Battlefield 2042, if we're being honest, allows you to go back to the days of old Battlefield's glory and play game modes featuring Battlefield 1942, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and Bad Company. Then we have Hazard Zone, which is Battlefield's attempt at an extraction shooter with a squad of 4 to complete objectives with other 4-player squads running around. Now, the objectives to succeed are fairly similar to each game mode aside from Hazard Zone. As far as capturing designated points, it really capitalizes on large-scale warfare and makes Battlefield. Call of Duty offers a variety of small-scale 6v6 game modes such as Team Deathmatch, Domination, Search and Destroy. Then we mix in game modes such as Zombies. And then the pinnacle game mode for me of Warzone. So for me personally, Warzone is really the only redeeming game mode in Call of Duty, but I recognize that's a personal bias. Also, we have yet to see the return of round-based zombies set to come out with the newest iteration of Black Ops, so we'll see how that fares with the rest of the fan base. In terms of number of options, Call of Duty definitely has the most variety, but in all honesty, the least meaningful options to choose from. For Delta Force, we can see that there are 3 game modes listed. The first option is called Tactical Turmoil. This is the extraction shooter game mode. If you've played games like Escape from Tarkov or Grey Zone Warfare, you may recognize some similarities as far as a home base that you can upgrade with parts, a stash with a very familiar layout, missions you can select from different operators and various rewards for completing them, and a map with different locations where you can embark on exploring with up to 2 teammates to loot, scavenge, and kill other PMCs and bots. Do we call them scavs? Whatever. The second game mode is Havoc Warfare. This is the multiplayer mode, where 2 teams fight over segmented points with a limited array of vehicles available. 1 defending, 1 attacking. As the attackers take over the 2 points that are unlocked, the next segment opens up with an additional 2 points to take over, and so on and so forth until the final segment has been unlocked. This mode has a striking resemblance to the Rush game mode in Battlefield. The third option is Campaign. Now, during the alpha, this mode was locked, so there was no testing available, but the campaign to be released is supposed to mimic the missions of the infamous Black Hawk Down movie. Only a teaser trailer has been made available at this time, but for me personally, this is the part of the game that I'm most looking forward to. I will definitely be creating a review video once this has been released. For game mode options with the greatest variety and yet have the greatest meaningful engagement, I think I have to give Delta Force Hawk Ops a gold medal here. They delivered with the extraction shooter and what I think everyone was hoping DMZ would have been, but fell short on. The multiplayer is distinct enough from the extraction and more or less recycles a solid game mode that is already tried and true via Battlefield. Not to mention the campaign is going to be based off one of the most revered war movies of all time, Black Hawk Down, which holds zero connection to the other 2 game modes to provide a totally unique and remastered gameplay. Now the big question, overall, is Delta Force Hawk Ops going to be the Call of Duty and Battlefield killer that it was hyped up to be? No. It only takes gold in one category, and it's severely lacking in aspects that, for at least Battlefield, makes it Battlefield. However, I will say, a lot of the gold medals I gave to Battlefield were based off previous, not the most recent installment of Battlefield 2042. With the new Battlefield in development and yet to be named, depending on which way EA takes the next title, could we see Delta Force make a surge? Absolutely. But the only way Delta Force kills Battlefield is if Battlefield kills Battlefield. So only time will tell on if things shift as far as will Delta Force truly be a Call of Duty and Battlefield killer. As for Call of Duty, for me personally, once Delta Force 1.0 gets fully released, I really see no reason to continue to play Call of Duty. It's far more rewarding of an experience across the game for both gunplay, vehicles, map design, and game modes. Now, will it actually kill Call of Duty? I doubt it. For me personally, though, I'm going to be happy to get rid of the 100 plus gigabyte bloatware that is Call of Duty for my storage. So what do you think? Do you agree with my review? Think I missed something? Let me know in the comments what you think. And if you like videos like this, I'm going to try and do more reviews in the future, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Until next time, be good to each other.